Graduation dinners are supposed to be easy: a nice table, a cake, a few forced smiles, and one evening where no one reminds you of everything you've done wrong. That's the lie I told myself as I walked into the restaurant my parents picked. The place, white tablecloths, pricey enough to make it feel like they were doing me a favor just by being there. My sister was already seated, eyes glued to her phone, not bothering to look up. My dad gave me a single nod, the kind you give a waiter who's a minute late. My mom smiled to wide, to stiff. We sat down. The waiter asked what we were celebrating. Her graduation, my mom said, flicking her hand toward me. The word felt wrong the moment it landed. The conversation dragged forward in pieces. My sister talked about her promotion. My dad talked about his friend's son who had really made something of himself. Every sentence slid right past me like I wasn't even there. So I stayed quiet. Silence had taught me how to survive. Then came the toast. My dad stood up, glass raised. "Well," he said, scanning the table, "I guess we should say something. Not every child turns out the way you expect." My sister smirked. My mom laughed softly and added, "Some kids are blessings, others are lessons." My chest tightened. Then she looked straight at me and said it. "We honestly wish you were never born. Life would have been easier for everyone. No yelling, no anger. Just a clean, final statement." The table went silent. Even the waiter froze with the water pitcher in midair. I waited for the familiar crash of shame. It never came. Instead, something heavy and steady settled in my chest. I stood up. They clearly thought I was about to cry, apologize, walk out broken. Instead, I reached into my bag and set a thick, neatly labeled folder on the table. "I came tonight thinking maybe this would be the one day you'd pretend I mattered," I said. My voice calm. "Turns out this is better timing." My mom frowned. "What is this?" I smiled. But there was no kindness in it. "It's everything." I turned to my sister. "You know how you've been living in my apartment for the last 2 years, rent-free." Her smile vanished. I looked at my dad. "You know that loan you took out using my name? The one you said you'd handle." His glass lowered. Then I looked at my mom. "And those papers you made me sign when I was 18? The ones you said were insurance forms." The restaurant felt too small, too quiet. "I didn't come to argue," I said. "I came to graduate from this." I picked up my bag. "Enjoy dinner. It's the last thing you'll ever get from me." Then I walked out before any of them could speak. I didn't run when I left the restaurant. I didn't hide in a bathroom or fall apart on the sidewalk like they probably expected. I walked slowly, steadily. Every step felt like cutting a rope. I'd been dragging for years. My phone started buzzing before I reached my car. Mom first, then Dad, then my sister. I ignored them all. When I got home, I dropped my bag, kicked off my shoes, and finally let myself breathe. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from adrenaline, because what I'd done wasn't impulsive, it was overdue. That folder wasn't a threat, it was proof. Years earlier, during my last year of college, I started noticing patterns. Money going missing. Bills showing up in my name that I didn't recognize. My apartment, technically mine, slowly turning into my sister's second place, then her only place. While I crashed on friends' couches, every time I asked questions, I was called dramatic, ungrateful, difficult. So I stopped asking. I started watching. I pulled my credit report and found the loan. My dad had taken it out in my name without my consent, using papers my mom had tricked me into signing. Quietly, I spoke to a lawyer, then another, then a third, just to be sure. What they'd done wasn't just cruel, it was illegal. The apartment was still in my name. I'd never signed it away. I just let my sister stay because family is supposed to help family, right? Wrong. The next morning, I woke up to 12 missed calls and a voicemail from my dad that finally showed the truth. "You think you're clever?" he snapped. "You embarrassed us. Come back and fix this. Fix this." I deleted the message. By noon, my lawyer had sent the first notices, one to the bank, disputing the loan and flagging fraud, one to my sister, giving her 30 days to leave the apartment, one to my parents, cutting off any control they'd ever claimed over my finances. The fallout was immediate. That evening, my sister showed up at my door, mascara streaked, voice sharp and shaking. "You can't do this to me. I have nowhere to go." I leaned against the doorframe and really looked at her, not my baby sister, not the favorite, just an adult who'd lived comfortably off my silence. "You had somewhere to go," I said. "You chose comfort over fairness," she scoffed. "You're really going to destroy the family over money?" I laughed once, short and bitter. "You already destroyed it. I'm just stepping out of what's left." She called me selfish, bitter, heartless. I closed the door. Over the next week, everything unraveled fast. The bank froze the loan while they investigated. My parents panicked. Suddenly they wanted calm conversations. Suddenly they couldn't remember how the papers were signed. Suddenly it was all a misunderstanding. It always is when consequences show up. Then a message from my mom made everything clear. We never thought you'd actually leave. I stared at those words for a long time. They hadn't treated me that way because they hated me. They did it because they were sure I'd never go anywhere. That was when something inside me finally healed. I didn't reply. Instead, I booked a one-way ticket to another city. New job, new apartment, new number. I left behind the version of myself that kept begging for love from people who needed a scapegoat more than a daughter. A month later, my sister was evicted. My parents sold their car to cover legal fees. The loan disappeared from my record, clean and final. They still tell people I abandoned the family. Let them. I didn't abandon them. I survived them, and for the first time, that felt like real success. I heard about the fallout from the graduation dinner weeks later through a cousin, who still talked to me. My parents tried to control the story. They said I was unstable, that success went to my head, that I'd always been difficult. But something unexpected happened. People stopped automatically agreeing. The bank investigation was public record. The eviction notice was real. The loan fraud couldn't be denied. Quietly, relatives started asking questions my parents couldn't answer. Why was the apartment in my name? Why was the loan disputed? Why did they need my signature at all? The story cracked. My sister bounced from one friend's place to another. Turns out entitlement doesn't age well. Months later, my parents sent one final message, short, careful, we hope someday you'll understand. We did our best. I read it once and archived it because by then, I understood everything. They didn't lose me because I was ungrateful. They lost me because I stopped being useful on my birthday. I didn't go out. I didn't wait for a call. I sat on the floor of my new apartment, surrounded by boxes, eating takeout straight from the container. No speeches, no judgment, no comparisons, just quiet. Some families break you loudly. Mine did it slowly, with smiles and expectations. Walking away didn't make me cruel. It made me free.